You must have heard about urban legends, those eerie tales passed down through whispers, etched into the corners of our imagination. Across the world, countless such stories exist, like the chilling tale of Bloody Mary or haunted mirrors that reflect more than your face. But urban legends are far more than just stories. They are cautionary echoes, shaped by cultural fears, tragic histories, and our desperate need to explain the unexplainable. Whether you believe them or scoff at them as superstition, one truth remains: urban legends crawl under your skin and stay there, waiting for that silent moment, when the lights go out and your mind begins to wander. This is one such legend. Not well known, but terrifyingly real to those who've faced it. Chakwaa, the trickster. A sinister entity whispered about in the shadows of South Asia, Chakwaa is said to haunt remote, untouched places, especially those near still water, dense forests, or abandoned paths. It doesn't attack like a beast. Instead, it creates illusions so convincing, so tempting, you willingly walk toward your doom, smiling, trusting, unaware, until it's too late. This is the story of two friends, Niklas and Tiago, who came face to face with the horror of Chakwaa. Their real names and the location have been changed to protect their identities. Because what they saw, what they experienced, was never meant to be spoken of. Niklas and Tiago worked at the same firm. They had been close friends since college, and after graduation, fate brought them under the same roof once again, this time as colleagues. Recently, Niklas had purchased a brand new BMW, a sleek, powerful machine that gleamed with temptation. Tiago, unable to resist the excitement, demanded a celebration. A night drive was planned for the upcoming weekend, a perfect excuse to test the raw horsepower of Niklas's new beast. Finally, the day arrived. On Friday evening, the two friends wrapped up work early. Without returning home, they jumped into the car straight from the office, spirits high and adrenaline pumping. By 6 p.m., they were already cruising out of the city, leaving behind the chaos of honking horns and tangled traffic lights. As the skyline faded behind them, they revved along the open highway, feeling every surge of power, every roar of the engine as it echoed into the night. The world seemed theirs. Hours passed. Around midnight, they stopped at a dimly lit roadside restaurant nestled in the middle of nowhere. A single flickering bulb hung over the entrance, casting unsettling shadows on the cracked walls. Inside, they ate heartily and indulged in a few drinks, still drunk on the thrill of the road. But as they stepped outside, the cold reality settled in. They had driven far, much farther than they had planned. The road back home was long, and the darkness around them seemed to grow heavier with every minute. Looking for a quicker way back, they approached the old man at the restaurant counter.
Is there a shortcut we can take? We'd like to get home before dawn.
Niklas asked casually. The old man looked up slowly, his eyes clouded with something that wasn't just age, it was fear. He paused before answering, his voice low and serious.
There is a shortcut, but don't take it. Not at this hour,
he said. Niklas and Tiago exchanged curious glances. Tiago asked, a grin on his face.
Why? Afraid we'll run into a ghost?
The old man didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned closer and whispered,
That road isn't meant to be traveled after dark. Strange things happen there. Things that trick the eyes, mess with your head. People see what isn't there, and sometimes they don't come back at all.
The laughter faded from their faces.
You boys seem brave, but bravery turns to regret on that road. Stick to the highway.
He added. But these were young men with adrenaline pumping and fire in their veins. Warnings only fueled their curiosity. Despite the elderly man's unease, they insisted on knowing the shortcut. With a heavy sigh and hesitation in his voice, the restaurant owner finally gave in. He said grimly,
All right, drive back 33 miles on this same highway. On your right, you'll see an old gas station, almost forgotten by time. Just beside it is a narrow road. Take that exit.
His eyes darkened as he continued, voice barely above a whisper.
That road winds through a dense patch of forest and cuts across an abandoned village. Silent, decaying, and long shunned by the locals. Keep driving straight and eventually you'll rejoin the main highway. It'll save you many miles, but at a cost.
He paused, looking them both in the eyes.
I still urge you to choose highway. That path, that village, they're cursed. People say strange things happen there. Whispers in the trees, figures that vanish into thin air, and illusions so real they've driven travelers mad. Many who took that route at night never made it to the other side.
The night air grew colder around them, and yet they chose to go. Instead of feeling fear, Niklas and Tiago grew more excited after hearing the story. The danger only made the road seem more thrilling, a challenge waiting to be conquered. They thanked the restaurant owner, grabbed a few bottles of beer and some roast chicken, and turned their car toward the shortcut, eager to test their courage. After some time retracing their path along the highway, they spotted the gas station just as the restaurant owner had described, old, half-lit, and sitting like a ghost of its former self on the edge of nowhere. They pulled in and began refueling. The gas station attendant, an old man with a tired face and eyes that had clearly seen more than he ever wanted to, approached the car casually.
"Where are you boys headed at this hour?"
He asked, wiping his hands on an oily rag. Nicholas grinned.
Heading home, but we're taking the shortcut road beside your station. Heard it saves time.
The old man's smile vanished. His expression stiffened.
"You're taking that road? Are you out of your minds?"
That was the second warning someone has given to both friends that night. The old man continued, his voice low.
"Haven't you heard the stories? People vanish down that path. They hear voices, see things that aren't there. Some don't even reach the other end of the road."
Nicholas shrugged.
We've heard, but we don't believe in ghost stories. It's just a road.
The old man narrowed his eyes, then leaned closer to the window and spoke.
"Then listen carefully. If you've already made up your mind, fine, but do not stop. For anything, no matter what you see or hear, keep driving until you reach the highway again."
He paused, then added gravely,
"And if you're carrying any alcohol or meat, get rid of it now. The spirits out there are drawn to the scent. That's how they find you."
Niklas and Tiago exchanged a glance. The back seat held both the beer and the chicken, but they said nothing. They simply nodded, thanked the old man, and drove off, ignoring his final plea. Moments later, their car disappeared into the narrow forest road, swallowed by shadows and the thick, unnatural silence of the trees. Both friends continued driving, sipping their beers and munching on chicken nuggets, their laughter echoing inside the car. The road ahead was narrow and wrapped in shadows, the trees closing in like silent watchers. Eventually, they reached the abandoned village the gas station owner had warned them about. A strange stillness enveloped the area. The village was drowned in an eerie silence, as if the air itself refused to move. Crumbling houses lined the road, their roofs caved in and walls overtaken by twisted creepers that snaked through shattered windows and open doorways. The headlights of the car cut through the thick darkness, revealing glimpses of rusted gates, broken lanterns, and empty courtyards swallowed by weeds. They slowed down instinctively, the unsettling aura around them too strong to ignore. Suddenly, Tiago shifted uncomfortably.
Bro, I really need to pee.
Niklas chuckled.
Me too, man.
Without thinking, they pulled the car over right there, in the heart of the ghost village, completely ignoring the old man's warning to never stop. Both got out, walking a few steps into the overgrown path beside the road. As they relieved themselves, Tiago laughed and shouted,
We're pissing on your ghost stories, old man.
Niklas joined him, mocking the eerie silence around them.
Fake legends. Just fear tactics.
But in that moment of arrogance, something stirred. Unseen eyes blinked open. From behind the moss-covered ruins, from beneath the shadows of the broken walls, something was watching. Just after relieving themselves, Niklas and Tiago got back in the car and continued down the desolate road. Everything seemed fine at first, until they reached another abandoned village. Tiago looked out the window and muttered,
Didn't the gas station guy say there was just one abandoned village? Maybe he forgot to mention there were two.
This village looked exactly like the first collapsed rooftops, twisted vines crawling through broken windows, and that same suffocating silence. They exchanged a quick glance, but shrugged it off and kept driving. A few minutes later, they passed another deserted village. Niklas frowned.
That's the third one. How many cursed villages are we going to see tonight?
Still, they continued, brushing off the creeping unease. But then, they saw a fourth abandoned village. This time, the laughter died in their throats. Both Niklas and Tiago felt the weight of dread settle on their chests. Niklas slowed the car and pulled over. They looked cautiously, scanning their surroundings. Everything looked familiar. Too familiar. Tiago's voice cracked.
Niklas, I think we've been here before.
And then it hit them. This wasn't a new village. It was the same one. The very spot where they had mocked the legend and relieved themselves. They were caught in a loop, driving endlessly through the same cursed village again and again, like prey being toyed with. Realization crashed down on them like ice water. Despite the air conditioning, cold sweat soaked their backs. Tiago gripped the dashboard, panic rising in his voice.
We should have listened to the old man. What do we do now?
Niklas, pale and trembling, tried to calm himself. He took a deep breath, struggling to think clearly. Then he remembered. The gas station owner's warning. Don't stop. Don't carry alcohol or meat. Spirits are drawn to it. They had ignored him, and now they weren't alone on that road. Something had followed them. Niklas suddenly realized the gravity of their mistake. Without saying a word, he stepped out of the car and opened the back seat. He grabbed the beer bottles and the half-eaten box of chicken, now cold and greasy, and carefully placed them on the dusty soil of the abandoned village road. Then, in a trembling voice, he spoke into the darkness.
I apologize for my mistake. I brought this for you, the beer and the chicken. I'm sorry for mocking you, for disrespecting this place, for relieving myself here. Please, forgive us. Let us go.
The air turned eerily still. Tiago, watching from inside the car, looked confused and shaken. He rolled down the window and shouted,
Niklas, who are you talking to? Have you lost your mind?
Niklas didn't respond. He simply got back in the driver's seat, his face pale, his hands trembling as they gripped the steering wheel, and whispered,
I don't know who or what I was speaking to, but this is the only thing I could think of. If we're lucky, it might work.
Tiago stared at him, silent now, unsure whether to feel terrified or skeptical. Niklas started the engine, and the car moved forward once again. The headlights cut through the dense fog, the road eerily quiet. The forest seemed to watch them, as though the trees themselves were holding their breath. The tension was suffocating. Minutes passed like hours until suddenly, the endless loop of villages vanished. And then they saw it. The highway, wide open, stretching into the horizon like salvation itself. Both of them gasped in disbelief and relief. Tiago clutched his seat. Niklas slowed the car, pulled over, and the two just sat there in stunned silence, the sound of the engine the only proof they were still alive. They had made it out, but something inside them had changed forever. Neither of them could fully believe what had happened, yet the fear still lingered in their eyes. From that day on, both Niklas and Tiago stopped calling them just stories. Because some tales aren't fiction at all. They're warnings. And sometimes those who don't believe learn the hard way. The entity that Niklas and Tiago encountered was none other than the urban legend known as Chakwaa, a sinister trickster spirit whispered about in forgotten corners of South Asia. It doesn't attack like other spirits. Instead, it plays with your mind. It traps you in endless loops, disorients your senses, and sometimes leads you straight into deadly places, bottomless water bodies, dense forests, or deep valleys, where survival is nearly impossible and no one ever returns. Niklas and Tiago were fortunate. The Chakwaa, appeased by the beer and chicken, let them go. Or else that night would have become the last drive of their lives.